Boom! According to that, I am live. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight. My name is Hiko Simon. It's great to see you. Wow, we've got tons of people already in here. How many people do we even have? I can't see the number at the moment. It says 0 at the moment on the live screen, but I can see lots of people in the comments. So that must be wrong. Um, yeah, let me go through and see who we've got. I was super impressed. I set up this video and like DJ Sunny Side Up liked the video before I even had a chance to go and actually look at the video myself on YouTube. So um, he like is faster than me at seeing my own video that I just set up. Good to see you, DJ Sunny Side Up. Hope all is well with you. Hope my audio is working. That's always a thing. Um, who we've got me, I guess I came in second. Lara came in third. Cobras 10, she in at fourth. Third, if you're not counting me, which you don't have to count me because I made the thing. Fifth element, I see what you did there. Believe in yourself. Very clever. Void theft, lost count, fair enough. Um, as they say in France, there are three types of people in this world: people who can and cannot count. So there we go. Nice to see Avoid Theft. As always, we've got Shubis rocking in from Panama, making a lovely hot cuppa. Glad that you could join us. We've got, roll call in from Believe in Yourself. Dan H, you have to count me. Thank you. Thank you for, I feel included. I feel seen. Thank you, Dan H. Great to see you as always. And thank you for including me. What else we got in here? We've got, Cobras Tenshi. Boom. I think I've already said. Tons, I think. Is it Void Theft doing your taxes? Mr. Cordy Chip, nice to see you. As always. American taxes. Yeah, that's painful for people who are doing those. I don't know what German taxes are like. We've got Black Tengu in from Greece. Greek Easter coming up next week. This year, Catholic and Greek Easters coincide. Cherry blossoms and peach blossoms. By the way, this is actually one big thing. I maybe I'll catch up. We've got Aaron, moderator. Great to see you in here once again. 23 degrees and sunny, by the way, in I think Germany, Kyrgyzstan. But yes, we've got everyone rocking in. Steve from Berkeley. Great to see you, Steve from Berkeley. Long time. Is it long time no see? I think it is. It feels like long time no see. We've got Sadiq. Great to see you as always, Sadiq. And Eder make it in here. I'm missing people. Peter Nankara, great to see you as always. I'm not seeing Eder. A man from Denmark. Up here, boom. There we go. Great to see you as well. Great to see everybody. 420 Easter. Is it next week? Is it? I don't know if it's this week or next week or whatever. It's something that sometimes my mum will call and say, "Hey, so you guys get a holiday for Easter in Japan?" And unless you're actually one of those people who believes, there are people in Japan. There is a specific. There are multiple Jesus. I think the plural of Jesus is Jesse. I'm not sure. There are multiple Jedi in Japan. There are people who it's the logical thing. I'm pretty sure they would have been Russians. There are these stories of white people. Talk about the God complex of white people coming to Japan. There are these stories of pale-skinned people with white noses coming into Japan, and I think I know what happened. There's multiple cases. There's a couple who went to Kyushu. There are some official grave sites and statues in Kyushu. There are some in Tohoku as well. Of people who at different times came in, and first they probably came in as missionaries, thinking that they were here to spread the world and spread the word and save the souls of the Japanese, telling them the true Lord of their Savior, and then realized, you know what, all of this third person business, all of this me telling the story of Jesus, just it's so much work. If I just switch this to first person, this would just make everything so much easier. The God complex experienced by many expats, white expats, and English teachers. Probably there were cases where it's a bit like Dr. Evil in Austin Powers when he starts playing music and taking credit for it. I'm pretty sure that there were probably a lot of missionaries who got a little bit carried away and just decided to become Jesus themselves. And there are some statues and places for that. But because the vast majority of Japanese do not believe that Jesus was a Russian, probably Russian person who came into Japan hundreds of years ago. There are a few places that do believe this, by the way. There are multiple burial places of different Jedi in Japan. But yes, other than that, there's never really caught on. So as a result, I don't know when it's Easter. We don't have Easter eggs. We don't have chocolate bunnies. Which I must admit is the one. There's no hot cross buns. There, you know, the and it is funny when you've been away for a long time and you start to look at things objectively. And you hear, I mean, you think about it. We celebrate the, execution by nailing someone to a cross. As a kid, as a kid, I had to go to church as a kid, and there'd be, there'd always be, oh crap, the AI is taking over my camera. Stop it, stop it. No, stop. Technical issues. Technical robots are taking over. Well, I mean, this is more squarely on me. It's just there's tons of crap behind me. Yeah, maybe I'll stick with it. If I go over here, will it follow me? Yes. The robots. There's no escaping them. Okay, this is as far as my mic will go, so I can't really escape the other way. I waved my hands and triggered it. The Chinese camera. I don't know if I've got to like pay, 125% now every time I turn on my cam. I'm in Japan. I'm not going to America. Duty free, baby. Um, yeah. The whole Easter thing. When you think about it, it's kind of gross. I was a kid when I would watch TV shows of someone bidding, and like you literally go and learn morality. Go and learn what it is to be good. You go to a church and you see someone with nails in their hands tied to two planks, nailed to two planks. I realize that's part of the point. But you think about how does this sound to people who like, you know, this is a new story to, hey, well, we're here to tell you the good news. And I mean, it was obviously convincing. It convinced most of the, a large percentage of the planet to convert, but not Japan. And I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad to not have Easter, honestly. Although I did have that episode where I quit my first job after explaining that I wanted to go home at 5 p.m. on Christmas so I could call New Zealand where it's 9 p.m. For Christmas on my first job at the end of my third year. I said, I've got to go home early to go call up everyone for Christmas. Sorry, it's just this one day of the year. I'm going to go home at the normal end of work hours and not work till 10 p.m. like I normally do. And the next day, he said, you have Christmas. You could have just used the Emperor's birthday, which back then that was Heisei. So that back then Emperor's birthday was on the 23rd of December. You could, you could have. Surely our emperor is just as good as the human form of God walking around on the planet. For people who believe in that sort of thing, don't even get me started on the Trinity. But yes, anyway, happy Easter. I think that's where I was going with that. Happy Easter. We don't have Easter in Japan. I don't even know where it is. I'm glad to hear that the Greek and the Catholics are getting along, as I'm sure they did, just with a schism or two in between. A schism. But yes, glad that that's aligned. I don't know what the Russians are doing. Well, we know what the Russians are doing. Okay, Japan topics. Let's see who else is in here, by the way. We've got Perk. Nice to see you. Good name. Been a while indeed. Yeah, great to see you, Perk. Sadiq asking, where is Lara? Lara is there. 420 Easter. I'd forgotten that was the whole point. That was what started us, wasn't it? Easter on 420. I feel like I went down a bit of a 420 rabbit hole myself just there. Nuns on the Run, Quint Rankin. I not only love the movie Nuns on the Run, I think I've watched it probably just once actually, but I love that movie not just because of the spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch, the criminals trying to masquerade as nuns to hide while being on the run, and yes, for Catholics and all of that, but also the fact that the whole movie used the music of Yellow, the German techno dance group. And I think they used the race, right? Man, the music, just for the music, that movie, and a couple of good Catholic jokes. That was great. Nuns on the Run. That was awesome. We've got Dr. Ocho. Glad that you made it. Yeah, good to have you in here, Dr. Ocho. And being congratulated by everybody. Everyone's proud of you, Ocho. Glad that you could make it, along with Perk. Much better than the movie. None has. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I should just rebrand this channel. Maybe we should just make this religious humor. I mean, honestly, that would now. There's a topic where you never run out of things. But anyway, happy Easter to those celebrating, which I think is next week. Anyway, it's not this week, but there we go. Yeah. For me, I think I've explained this before, but for anyone interested, I was raised Church of England. But pretty much, I mean, I kept moving house every year, and it just got to be sort of a hassle. And by the time I was about 12, it was like, yeah, you don't have to go anymore. So didn't really do anything more with that. What I like about the Church of England is that if you ever look at how the church was established historically, you realize that it is only comedians could ever be a fundamentalist Church of England. I mean, every church has its politics and dark history, but basically, the Church of England, the history of it is not only an enormous practical joke. Episcopalians in America, by the way, but also the number of the heads of the church, the number of monarchs who made the whole country convert to a church, basically replacing the Pope with the King or Queen of England, and they all converted to Catholicism whenever thought they were going to die. Like they knew it was a bad thing. It's like they deliberately, if they were sincere, I don't think anyone was sincere even back then. They sent their entire nation to hell, and then tried to convert at the last minute to get out of what they had forced everybody, threatening with taxes and imprisonment. So, I think you've got to have a pretty open-minded and dark sense of humor to be a So yeah, that's what I like about that lot. Anyway, do I know that do I know the Baptist on the bridge joke? Not sure, not really about Baptist, but it's a great religious joke. Hit me with it. I'm not sure if I'll get to it, but I do enjoy good religious jokes. Like I say, I think it's actually good. I've had reasons in my life to actually go kind of deep into theological matters. I've literally had to decide. In fact, I'll tell you, at my wedding, we had family who were, Buddhist, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, and my mum was like, and so I went with a secular ceremony, and my mum was like, "Why did you go secular?" And I was like, "Well, just it seemed fair. I mean, it was either that or Islamic," which I said as a joke. But I'm not sure the joke quite got across in the moment. I mean, honestly, that would be awesome. Greek Orthodox. I mean, that's another option, I suppose. We got to thank the Christian Church that they caused 800 years of standstill in Europe during the Dark Ages. Demaster, good to see you, Demaster. Well, I mean, everyone blames the church for that, and certainly it's a bit like blaming Trump. I mean, Europe chose to follow a whole bunch of people that led them down that path. So I don't know. I think the Europeans are sort of being stupid following that as well. But there we go. That's society. Speaking of which, let's go into all of that. Hey, yeah, all the three religions. Oh, yeah, not the three. I guess two out of three. Not bad, right? Of the Abrahamic religions, believe. Although they don't believe that he was literally the reincarnation of God. But yeah, Anyway, topics. That's well, we could be distracted on this all night, but we're not going to do that. Newton was clergy. I was not aware of that, but there we go. Anyway, let's jump off. So this week, what have I been up to this week? It's been spring. We've still had cherry blossoms, which I've been enjoying. Been sort of busy at work. Not a lot going on. Been another relatively quiet week, Japan news-wise, mainly because if there was Japan news, nobody noticed because America's lost its freaking mind. I don't know. First there were tariffs, then there weren't tariffs. Wake me when it's over. I don't care. I mean, effectively, this whole thing, which was campaigned on and everybody voted for, is, everything made in China, right? The camera I'm using right now, my freaking iPhone, which they didn't even realize to the last minute, but, now they've made an exception for that. Pretty much everything cool that, frankly, no one else even bothers learning how to make anymore. You can't make these things in America anymore. You're going to get 125% tax, which you're going to have to pay, and it's going to go to the American government as some sort of we're getting back at China. It's a sales tax. Everyone's going to have to. It's got to be priced in, and it's going to be paid by the importer and the seller in America. So I don't know. Americans basically converting everything into a kind of a sales tax by the looks of it, and it's insane. Every day it changes. It really is the movie Idiocracy. But that is so. In light of all of that, not a lot of Japan news actually getting a lot of attention, but there is some stuff. So we're going to go through that. But yes, all hail the holy butter squirrel. Yes, indeed. Wake me up before you go. What is with all the awesome references in here? Are we a cult that believes in butter and nuts? We're all nuts for butter. Mother's a Quaker. Okay, well that's pretty cool. I mean, I always respect. I respect members, of religions that don't go for the mainstream. So, there we go. I don't know anything about the Quakers other than like the oats. I imagine she's got great digestion. Um, anyway, okay, let's stop with the religious stuff. That's dangerous territory. I'm gonna get canceled. Well, okay. I'm gonna get canceled even more than I already am. All 28 people, great to see you. Let's jump into it. Topics that we've got 4-day work week, fast quitting, which is the first topic we've got here, health bludging, and more. First topic. I actually heard this on the weekly update from Langley Esquire this morning. Apparently in Japan, of course, modern times when you don't want to when you want to quit, but you don't want to go through the hassle of like quitting. You can actually outsource that now. There are companies, including a company called Momuri. This is pretty awesome. It sounds like Mo Musume at first, I thought, but Momuri is I can't. It's literally the name of the company, Momuri. I can't take it anymore. Literally, no, it's gotten impossible. This company called Momuri, Taishoku Daiko, literally agents who will quit on your behalf. Momuri. Apparently, there's been a record number of new hired graduates. What is it today? It is April 13th, right? Am I on the wrong weekend? Bum, 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 bum. It is the 13th. That's right. Everyone's talking about marijuana Easter next weekend. No, we're not up to marijuana Easter yet. We are on Stone Sober Sunday the 13th. And on Sunday the 13th, we're not even 2 weeks into the new year, the new work year, the new school year, the new fiscal year, and already there are record numbers of new graduates quitting their jobs from companies. Everybody in Japan starts. My first job in Japan, I started on April the 1st. Not a joke. And this is why April Fool's jokes don't work in Japan, because it literally is like the 1st of January, which I don't know. How does that work? I get no religious significance or anything in the Western calendar. But in Japan, yeah, you can't really do that. So maybe they were April, maybe joining the companies that they joined were April Fool's jokes. All these people join companies, and in record numbers, less than 2 weeks, are already quitting. Maybe they've found other offers. The number one cited reason, apparently, or among a widely cited reason for quitting, being cited by the Momuri company, being that they're being asked to show up to companies and say, "Hey, Hiko, he quit your ass." The reason that they're being paid to go and do that. By the way, interesting. It only costs 22,000 yen to get this company to go quit for you. You think you'd wait at least until your first monthly pay? You don't get paid by the week in Japan. Everything goes by month. You think you'd wait for your first monthly paycheck to pay to cover the overhead of quitting? But yeah, the number one cited reason is drinking parties, nomikai. Um, I assume it was the welcome party that made them want to quit. And I do respect how young people. I mean, I definitely joined at the tail end of the forced drinking, forced karaoke culture, which is pretty much disappeared. It pretty much disappeared in the 2000s from Japan. But certainly when I joined in 1999, it was a party. There was still very much the sort of going out drinking, pouring the drinks of the boss and whatever, keeping the boss who doesn't want to go home company by force drinking with them. However, the first time they've been told to go out drinking, all these people quitting, they're citing drinking parties as a reason that they want to quit in less than 2 weeks. So again, what I do respect the ability of young people to say screw off to their companies and to not tolerate this bullshit. At the same time, that's pretty extreme. I mean, yeah, whatever they call the new graduate kids these days, they're not messing around. But yeah, just even have it like nomikai as the reason for quitting. But fair enough. I mean, this is a buyer's market. What I am glad is that all the people my age, no, even when it was a buyer's market, when there was literally a shortage of workers in Japan, people are still taking less pay. The minuscule inflation that Japan has still exceed like 1% per year or whatever, 2% that we have is still exceeding wages. We're still getting poorer and poorer just staying there. And yet people are too afraid of looking for a new job, even though it's a job seller's market out there. And the result of this is the highest paid people in Japan are now the over 50s and the under 30s. People with the sort of AI skills, companies are realizing that they desperately need people with these skills that no one else has. and they're paying more for them. Whereas people, I'm literally from what's called the glacier generation, the frozen generation, from when the economy just the wheels came off like a Toyota EV and it all fell to pieces. And no pay rises, no sort of everybody just sort of huddling for safety. Uh, I mean, so yes, I respect that they're not taking any shit. There again, I do think that, quitting. I mean, hell, I decided when I started my first job, in literally an IT job, literally where two or three people, there was like three people I heard of dying in my time there, and multiple people, like many people, including people on projects that I worked on, ending up hospitalized from overwork and abuse. We had to keep two timesheets, one timesheet that we would submit to the labor ministry, and one that was the actual hours logging that I was working 7 days a week from at times 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. sometimes until like the final train, and even beyond. Sometimes I worked 72 hours in a row once. So pretty black, horrible conditions. And most of my co-hires quit within the first year. And I decided, well, this is my first job. If I want to build up a resume and show that I can really, really function in Japan and do the job well, I should stay for 3 years. 13 days? 13 days? Literally one nomikai and they're out. So I don't know if I respect that or I'm mortified. I both respect and am mortified by it at the same time. I mean, hell, just get an AI to do your job for you, including showing up at the nomikai, or come out, get the AI to give you a list of excuses of how to get out of nomikais. And I'll tell you, program your AI if it doesn't know, just to say, I have a cold, I'm drinking cold medicine. Well, that's a reason not to drink alcohol, but you would actually have to attend. So, I mean, just don't even show up. Seriously. Like, I don't know. Hey, Yuri the best. Great to see you. Nice to have our man in from Ukraine here. Hope everything is well with you. Hope everything is okay in Kiev. I saw that thing in Sumi today. That was horrible. So, yeah, I hope you guys are all okay. But yeah, so the first job anyway, the first one, Japanese are not taking your crap. And comments, internet reactions to this company citing this. So people saying, yeah, atama showa no kigyo oi kara na. There's lots of companies that still have the mentality of the Showa period, which was from 1925 until 1989. And we still have that post-war generation mentality, which is certainly what my company was. Was it still? No, I was definitely in the middle of Heisei when I started working, but the mentality of the Showa period, absolutely. People say, 再就職もう無理かもしらんけど. Maybe, oh, so, okay. Interesting pun here. They're going to say maybe it's going to be impossible for them to find a new job. A play on words of the name of the quitting company, saying Momuri, saying that it might be it's not just impossible for you in the new job, it might be more impossible for you to find a new job if you do this. All that sort of stuff. But Mokare. Well, okay. There are some clever people doing Japanese word puns in there. But anyway, that's the first story. I think this is a global trend that people are realizing that they don't have to be as much slaves to companies as they used to be. But there we go. Dan H, you've been bouncing around startups, but your short tenure is 6 months. Yeah, I mean, I'm old fashioned. I enjoy watching oh, is it Cameron Cruz or what's his name? He does skits like every day on like working, like he's got boomers and millennials and Gen X and Gen Zs or something like that. Is it Gen Z? It's something like that anyway. Different workplace scenarios. And I swear he might be working at the company I work at because some of the stuff is really close to home. But yeah, the way that he shows reactions, I feel definitely like the Gen X reactions to everything at work. And yeah, I'm very mindful of the idea of needing to stay and suffer. I think nowadays 6 months is nothing, and certainly if you're going around startups, especially if you're in the tech sector, I mean, I think that's actually a respectable amount of time, provided of course you can find another job after. But yeah, um, uh, we've got believe in yourself with sending those interviewing. This is probably something that I'm missing here, so I'm going to leave it anyway. So I'm going to move on to the next topic, which we have here. What's with the chaos of Japanese power lines? This comes up every now and again. Everyone notices, when you see a beautiful street or something at night, and when you take a photo and you don't realize, because I find mentally maybe when you first come to Tokyo, you definitely notice that there is a maze of power lines hanging over you everywhere. Basically, a sword of Damocles. The sword of Damocles being a sword that hangs over a person's head. Like if he ever does anything wrong, the sword would fall, fall onto this guy Damocles' head and kill him. For everyone in Japan, that's the power lines. They all hang above us. And if there's ever a major earthquake, those power lines are going to fall on their heads and electrocute to death, like everybody who happens to be outside. So, when they say stay inside in Japan, when they say stay inside during an earthquake, that's what they mean. Those power lines are going to kill you and make the roads impassable. So you might ask why. I mean, and on top of that, of course, they make the scenes. They make Tokyo and every other city in Japan, which already Japan's not big on architecture. There are great architects, and there are great, there are great architectural monuments and so on in Japan that people go and see, but they stand out and are appreciated in Japan because it's 99% like just prefabricated industrial crap. The buildings are ugly, and you put on top of that you have all of these wires everywhere. You can't see anything. I find I've lived here long enough that I almost don't even like notice it. Sometimes I'll take a photo thinking that's a beautiful view, and I won't notice till I see the photo. Oh, it's got power lines all over it. So I'm kind of mentally, I use my internal natural human version of AI to block out all the power lines. But there's always been this question. I think Shintaro Ishihara was into this as well. Why don't we just you talk about the wasted money on pouring cement into the ocean in Japan? Why not use all that public works tax money for something useful, like burying the power lines, so that people actually don't have the risk of power lines falling on them and earthquakes, and the city will look more beautiful? And it sounds like a great idea, except I'm from Auckland. In fact, is it still under here? Yes, the Auckland Blues. That's them, my hometown, my rugby team. In 1998 in Auckland, the year that I decided, screw you guys, I'm leaving Auckland. 1998, you can Wikipedia this. I lived in the Central Business District of Auckland, the imaginatively named Central Business District. New Zealand has the least imaginative named places in the world, by the way. Everything in New Zealand is literally labeled exactly what it is. In fact, not only is our North Island the North Island, and South Island the South Island, and Southern Alps the Southern Alps, and West Coast the West Coast, and East Coast the East Coast, and Northland and Southland, our most popular cartoon character dog is literally called Dog. We have no imagination whatsoever. I lived in the Central Business District, which is literally Central Business District. You can Google it on a map in Auckland, which was supplied by 5 high voltage power cables that were buried underground and went into the center of the city. They were buried sometime in the 1920s or 50s or whatever the hell they did it. And apparently, during some unusually hot weather, one of the cables became overloaded and exploded somewhere. But nobody knew where that was because nobody bothered keeping a record of where exactly they had been buried. So while they were trying to dig up half of Auckland, trying to find this cable that was no longer functioning, and the load of the 5 cables was now distributed across 4, the next cable failed. And then the load of 5 cables going to 3 cables made the other 3 all explode at the same time, and all of the electricity into the center of New Zealand's largest city. Imagine if New York lost all of its electricity for 5 weeks. We had that in Auckland, and it was literally because we buried the power cables so that we could have a nicer view. And we have lovely, lovely views in Auckland. That has to be said. We didn't have electricity, but we had fantastic views. We were safe from falling power lines. But frankly, even if the power lines had been above us, it would have been safe because we didn't have electricity for 5 weeks. For 5 weeks, all businesses in the center of the city that has 1/3 of the population of my country couldn't operate in the central city because they couldn't find the underground power lines. So there is that. You keep track of where they are. The other thing, of course, is at least when they're strung up above you, you can, if they do fall or whatever, they can be repaired relatively quickly and easily. Maybe a little bit too easily. I mean, this is why everything is such a mess in Japan. Also, Japanese are super, super like when it comes to like land rights, and the reason that there are so many narrow roads in Japan that don't fit cars are just because in Western countries, just governments will have powers to expropriate necessary land and, boundaries or whatever to expand roads so that cars go down them. In Japan, you have to pay a ton of compensation. So digging up, again, this is another reason why you have these power cables going over the middle of the roads, because the roads are public land and you're not allowed 1 millimeter, you're not allowed to use 1 millimeter of what's not already very narrow strips of public land for roads. So the idea of digging up, you'd have to literally dig up the roads completely to bury the cables. It's very challenging. So there's both practical and impractical reasons that we have these fugly, horrible, horrible power lines over everything in Japan. and easy to fix, but possibly will kill everybody walking outside if they ever fall. So yeah, don't forget to look up. Indeed, if you're ever in an earthquake and you're standing underneath some of these, get the hell into literally run into a building. You are safer. You're definitely safer in a building in Japan than you are standing out in the street because of this. So Unseen Japan, which by the way on April Fool's Day, of course, changed its name to Seen Japan, goes through the percentage of buried cables. Yeah, substantially lower than London, Paris, 100%, Singapore, 100%, Osaka, 6%, Tokyo, 8%. So there are some buried, but yes, why they remain an outlier, aerial cables. So what do they say are the reasons? Earthquakes are the reason people are the reason, and that makes them easy to repair. But yes, basically it's cheaper and easier to lay them. It's a lot of trouble to dig up the ground and to do that. And as a result, none of us can have nice things. So there we go. I don't know why I left it highlighted on that comment. I've got to stop doing that. Kyoto have put power lines underground, you think, Black Tengu. That would make sense because Kyoto, although, Kyoto, parts of Kyoto, the scenic parts of Kyoto, certainly. But, I've also heard Kyoto is a famously ugly city outside the very specific landmarks that are dotted around that city. So I'm not sure that that's the case everywhere, but certainly, yeah. 5 weeks. Not even kidding you, Quentin Reagan. Look it up on Wikipedia. 1998 Auckland power crisis. It was ridiculous. And the thing was, I was going to university in the city and I was living in the city, which no one lived in the city in those days. Nowadays they do. They couldn't find the buried power cables. So, always leave a map. It was silly, but it it was pretty horrible at the time. And that wasn't the reason I left New Zealand. Those were plans I had, but it certainly made me think. No need to rush back. Will Day, nice to see you in the chat. Will Day, great to see you. Thank you for saying hello and welcome the other 34 people. Great to see so many people in the chat watching. What else have we got today? We've got the Tokyo government. This was actually announced back in December, but I heard from Langley Esquire today. It's happening. It's happening. Koike, enemy, lock up your trees. Koike is in town. The Tokyo governor, former environment minister, who also just loves deforesting the only green spaces that we have in Tokyo, the one in Gaien, Jingu, around the Olympic Stadium, and so on. Enemy of Rochelle Kopp and so on, for her, kind of for her plan to remove a lot of the green space in Tokyo for a corporate redevelopment. Doesn't do everything wrong. Well, she's done something pretty interesting. She actually announced, and it sounded like a gimmick, and I'd forgotten about it, but apparently they've followed through. Tokyo is now officially Tokyo government. If you are an employee of the Tokyo metropolitan government, the Tokyo that runs the prefecture, you are now on a 4-day work week. You only have to work 4 days a week. Now that doesn't mean that you get so you get 3 days off. You still work 40 hours. I believe that's how it works. So instead of working 5 8-hour days, you have the option, I believe, to work 4. There's the camera again. AI. You work 4 10-hour days. I don't know. What do you think? Would you work 4 10-hour days in order to get 3 days off? I would. And the idea is for it to spur consumption and to be more family friendly, and particularly to give women the flexibility that they need to be able to consider things like having a family, because, Tokyo, like all other places in Japan, has a birth rate crisis. And the government thinks it'd be, to try to make things a bit more family friendly and let people have a lifestyle outside of work. They've moved to a 4-day work week, and they're trying to set an example. And, so far they ran a trial on this in Microsoft in Japan like 2 or 3 years ago. And they found the productivity data was great, and the morale. Of course, they ended it and they never brought it back. But all the data showed that it actually did work. Employees were happy. People were getting just as much work done. There are aspects of my job where I do need to be on call sometimes, and I do need to be available. Frankly, even on weekends. I mean, I've got a pager built into my phone, but fine, I could have that turn on the extra day. But especially if they're going to, during the pandemic, we showed that we could work remotely if we needed to anyway. So I actually think Koike, not a fan from a trees preserving some nice parks perspective. This is a pretty good idea, and I'll be really, really curious to hear about the sort of what they find. I hope it's successful and it sets an example that leads at least other governments, and in turn maybe some other companies, to adopt a similar 4-day work week. So we'll see what happens with that. Quickly checking out the comments, I can see comments on the YouTube window that I've got open that are not available yet to me over here. Let's go. So yeah, no brainer says Dan H. Good to see a sainted sir. And yes, you did a 4-day work week with TSA for a year or so, and you kind of liked it. I mean, yeah, having 3 days a week and just the ability to go and do exercise and have hobbies and yeah, spend family time. I would love that. Crow, this is good to see you, Crow. I don't recognize the handle, but good to have you in the chat. Yes, only for government employees. Yes, these are only for employees of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. So I think setting an example to other governments, at least including governments around Tokyo, it's definitely showing that, and maybe to companies as well. Aaron's saying that there will be no cutting of trees. I want a 4-day work week. I would like that as well. So there we go. Yeah. Dr. Ocho saying that you want to train in Kyoto. It was so quiet that you could hear your own heartbeat. I've heard that the public transport's getting really like jammed up with tourists. I've been to Kyoto. I've been in Japan for 26 years. I've been to Kyoto for a total of about 36 hours in all of that time. I took my mum there. So that was it. I don't know Kyoto. I can't speak for Kyoto at all, other than I know it's miserably hot in summer, it's freezing cold in winter, and it's crammed full of tourists all year. But yeah, that is anyway, I think the 4-day work week thing, that's actually pretty innovative, actually. I think when you consider how crazy governments are going in some other places, that's pretty good. It's pretty good to see Tokyo setting an example with that, and I hope it pays off. I mentioned last week, when you come to Japan, remember, pack your passport and also remember to leave your gun at home. And one old man accidentally, Mr. Magoo, apparently left his gun and ammo inside a suitcase. Apparently that wasn't the only one, however. Another guy, like the following week, a 35-year-old tourist had like he had a kitchen knife, ammo, and a gun inside his suitcase. And once again, he got through the TSA in America. He got through all of the onboard. They let him board a plane with a suitcase full of guns and ammo and a hunting knife and stuff. And he arrived in Osaka saying, "Oh yeah, I just came to see the expo." And the police have him in detention and aren't quite sure what to do with him, apparently. But yeah. I mean, don't do that. So yeah, second case. They when they x-rayed his suitcase when he got off, they found, what did they find? They found a handgun with dozens of rounds inside. I hope the dozens of rounds were inside the suitcase and not the gun. In addition, he also had a knife kept in the case inside a sneaker that was also packed into the case. He admitted bringing the weapon, I decided to go to Japan while the World Expo was being held. By the way, the expo in Osaka started this week. Apparently, there's 2-hour queues to get in and 1-hour queues to get out. Yeah, other than that, I don't know a lot about it. I haven't really been following it, other than it's been the normal, everybody kind of against it, but kind of going to happen anyway. But hopefully it goes. It's going to be going on for a while. And it's if you're coming to Japan anyway, if you're going to go to Osaka anyway, between that and Universal Studios, it's probably worth, going and checking out while you're there. But one person who will not be attending is the person who brought a suitcase full of guns, ammo, and a hunting knife. Don't do that. And seriously, like, they make old ladies take their shoes off. They literally, like, they'll make, nuns take their shoes off at the airport. And yet this guy gets to go through. You had 2 people getting through the TSA coming to Japan the last week with suitcases full of guns and bullets. I mean, why do we even are there actually security checks being done? I mean, does America really care on what's going on? The old rhetoric that America, oh no, they're not sending their best. They're sending people with guns and knives and bullets. Is literally what America is doing to us at the moment. So, yeah, please don't be the person who does that. Yeah. We've got other people in here. Microsoft. If Microsoft is able to influence other companies, you doubt the government wasn't able to. Well, we'll see. It's one of those things. I think it needs momentum, the 4-day work week, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Dan H was spending this week reading about New Zealand political history and humor. Well, humor is simple. We don't have humor. Australia has humor. Australians are very funny. New Zealanders are grumpy. We're basically kind of like, Scots, only without even the dark humor. But yes. Oh, you know what? I think you saw the video that I saw. You saw the video by what's his name, the Geordies or whatever, talking about. There's a video on YouTube talking about Ruth Richardson, Ruth in Asia. He gave a view of New Zealand history with a political bias that it's always good when it's Labour and the left, and it's always terrible when it's National and the right. Which he was very entertaining. It was a long video talking about like New Zealand in the 70s and the 80s. And I did go through that when we talk about how New Zealand basically ran out of money. Literally, I talked about this last week, how when when Britain joined the EU, which I think that video also covered, and New Zealand just basically wasn't able, went through a crisis where our economy sort of collapsed. And when the whole when the whole economy was being run by the government, we sort of had no choice. And so basically, this was a rare case where both of the two parties that were running New Zealand, yeah, they took turns. The Labour Party cut all the subsidies to all the right wingers, to the farmers, and then the Farmers Party, the National Party, came in and cut all the welfare spending. So the government had no spending. It was like Elon of Bernie Sanders and Elon of Trump came in, and they took turns just basically just getting rid of everything. The result is that New Zealand doesn't rely on subsidies or tariffs for just about anything. We became one of the most free trade, open, exposed to free trade countries in the world. And we did pretty well in the end. We got through it okay. But what was Robert Muldoon, Piggy Muldoon, who called a snap election while drunk? Yes, we did. That was kind of funny, actually. That was I was pretty small when that happened, and my dad, I remember, was a Robert Muldoon fan at the time, and he wasn't a fan of Longy. But it was a weird time in the 80s. It was a time where basically New Zealand was a strong, like Scandinavian socialist style mindset for everyone who was basically an adult and politically active until 1984. And then after 1984, we turned into a hardcore, free trade country, which is the generation I came through on, where we were taught that everybody, before us were idiots. So within the country, there's a real big sort of divide of that. We sort of look at the Ruth in Asia was the same as Rogernomics. So yeah, I saw the opinion on it. I don't agree with all the opinions, but it was brilliantly presented, and this just shows the Aussies making fun of Kiwis. They're very good at that anyway. So I know exactly what you're talking about, Dan H, and it was a fantastic video. One of the TSA agents, they're too busy taking the shoes off the nuns. It's like the movie Airplane, where they've got the video check and they've got people walking through with the X-ray. They've got the video X-ray. They've got people walking through with the bazookas and the machine guns, and then an old lady triggers the metal detector, and three men jump on top of her. That was a joke in the 1970s in the movie Airplane, one of the best movies ever made. It's what apparently is really happening in the TSA right now. I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of good people doing good work in the TSA, but yeah, please, nuns on the run with the gun. Exactly. Wow, 15 minutes left. Let's speed it up. Blaming foreigners for stuff. Let's talk about that. Apparently, Japan's opposition, which you might, it's one of those things that the LDP is the worst political party to rule Japan, apart from all the other parties. They've got like 15% support. In fact, I think they've actually got about 30% support, and all the opposition parties have like single digit. They got like 5% and 6% because everyone knows how terrible they are. And all the hope that a lot of foreigners have that, if we just switch to the opposition, we'll have a bit more of a liberal, friendly, opener foreigners. But no, Yuichiro Tamaki of the DPP, by the way, Tamaki is the Maori name of my hometown, so particularly disappointing, both that he's a leader of an opposition party that you might hope can do better, plus he's got the name of my hometown. They had no electricity for 5 weeks. He was among other politicians in parliament saying these dang foreigners are only making up 4% of people enrolled in national health insurance, making contributions out of their salaries being deducted in order to contribute towards the pool of national health care and health insurance. And we believe we've heard cases where people only in Japan for 90 days are getting the benefits, are signing up for national health insurance and getting the benefits of health insurance, for minimal contributions, getting huge expensive surgeries and so on done. And we must do an investigation and find how much foreigners are taking advantage of our socialized health and ensure that all the loopholes are closed because foreigners are taking advantage of us. The truth is, and this is mentioned inside the Mainichi article itself, foreigners, which make up about I think now nearly 3% of the total population of Japan, but more importantly, we don't make up a very big population at all of the children and of the elderly. We're all working. Our foreigners within Japan are largely a tax-paying, working-age population. We make up 4% of the contributions, more than our population. And yet, for the people basically drawing down from health expenses and hitting their monthly sort of cap on every month, we only make up foreigners only make up 1.21% of people enrolled in the health scheme. So basically, we are contributing way more than we are pulling out of the health system. Plus, most foreigners leave before they get to be elderly, and then the reason that we make up only 1% of people exceeding the cap is because basically, there's a very low percentage of foreigners at the moment retiring in Japan. So you've got all these elderly who the healthcare are for. We are net contributing, but all these politicians saying, no, no, but I heard a case of a tourist, getting an X-ray for its twisted ankle. We must find out how, we must stamp this out immediately. It is a shame. It's something that I've been here a long time, and I've not seen much scapegoating of foreigners, particularly by the opposition, which has typically been more liberal than the government. But again, if people can smell votes and they see more foreigners, this is something that's happening. So the government's going to do some sort of a probe into trying to find cases where foreigners are abusing. If they are abusing, I mean, even if they're entitled to medical care because they're working here for 90 days, that's a problem with the system. It's not, I mean, if there is genuine fraud, of course, there's genuine fraud. Go sort that out. But the statistics are that we are overwhelmingly contributing way more than we're taking out of this. And frankly, the whole system without those 4% foreigners, that they're growing percentage, you're not going to be able to, to pay for all the elderly. So yeah, it made the news, but again, please, I hope I don't see too much more of this sorts of politics in Japan. You are I'm staying to get my money's worth. Hell yes. Although that said, well, you know what? I'm quite happy being a net contributor. This is one thing as well about socialized healthcare. You pay because you want it to be there if you need it. You don't want to be bankrupted by an accident, by a medical crisis that might not even be your fault. But also, of course, ideally, you pay the taxes, which I don't mind paying if it's going in for health. It's something that baffles most countries in the world pay for public health, but in America, there's this aversion to that. There's this, if that other person gets sick, that's not my problem. But yeah, I pay because I want to be covered if it happens, but also I want to pay and not have to draw down. I want to be healthy, for as long as possible. I am not looking to get my money's worth, but there again, we are. If we're paying, sure, we want the benefit, the safety net to be there. Those are the main topics I've actually picked out for today. Other ones that I did during the week, I was so excited. Black Mirror, the new season of Black Mirror, they posted all the episodes. So I'm like, first Black Mirror in years, the dystopian sci-fi futuristic, one of the best written shows on TV. And I watched the first episode the other day, and I must say I waited 4 or 5 years. Charlie Brooker, the writer of the series, saying he didn't really think when they asked during the pandemic, hey, everyone's trapped at home, aren't you going to release a new Black Mirror? And he was like, yeah, I don't think now is really the best time for Black Mirror. And I thought he was being ridiculous, but having watched the first episode of Black Mirror since coming back, yeah, he was right. I think man, one, he's a genius. This is some of the best written television I've ever seen. And episode one, I'm so completely traumatized by it that I'm not sure I'm going to need like a couple of weeks and possibly some therapy before I can watch episode 2, which I'm going to watch because they are amazing. Yeah, man. I mean, Black Mirror, of course, because every episode is standalone. It's like Twilight Zone, and some of the episodes are honestly terrible. Like not so terrible that they make you want to stop watching the whole thing. But some of the good episodes are like, some of the best things I've ever watched. This was excellent, but I think I afterwards I saw this thing where there was a summary this is by Cosmopolitan. Meet the cast of Common People, aka Black Mirror's most traumatic episode, which it absolutely was. It was both one of the best and one of the most traumatic things I've ever watched. Where literally the technology that they talk about is paid subscriptions. They literally went after Netflix, kind of in the very first episode, and it was amazing. But yes, I'm still not really over having watched it. I do recommend it, however. So yes, if you're Blue Shift, great to see you. It is good stuff, but you've been warned. The first episode, I mean, it is called literally Black Mirror. It is some dark shit. It's great, but Phew. That was some heavy, heavy, heavy shit. But I gotta watch the rest because I love it so much. BBC said, when you use AI, what's the dark side of drawing pictures with AI? Again, without wanting to get too much into my work, which is AI related. The idea, they literally say in this article, I have to show this to you. I mean, seriously, the BBC, I think everyone's getting dumber. I think they put at the very end of it, for all the critiques, for example, that you're using electricity, that, all of these sorts of things, they point out at the end, more importantly, somewhere in a data center, hot computer servers were toiling away to make a frivolous, image of an action figure. They almost certainly could have been put to work on worthier causes. It's like compute is zero sum. That me wanting to make an AI, doll of my genitalia on ChatGPT. Not that I've done that, but let's just pretend that I did. Um, that some sort of frivolous use of AI is somehow stopping some child in the third world from getting a liver transplant, which they could have gotten through the AI compute. That if only the AI could have just had that extra compute to figure out, how to cure cancer, but it wasn't because of CG animated genitalia that I was just, there was no room on the servers. It was all full with my AI requests. Also, the presumptions that it's all being powered basically by 19th century, children, child slaves pulling a coal factory to run all of these things, which is not the case. If you look at AI, most of the sources of AI for most of these things is being run on renewable power. Check your provider, sure, but the reason most of the grids are becoming so renewable heavy is because of AI. So I don't know. There's a whole bunch of it's literally, if you ask like an 8-year-old to write an essay on how, like debate club, make up a case for why AI is bad, and you got the team with all the stupid people in it. It's pretty much what this BBC article is. Speaking of which, Shopify is saying that we are no longer going to hire people unless you can prove that that AI can't do the job, which I think is an excellent way to show that your that your business is in trouble and you're going into a hiring freeze, but wanting to sell it to shareholders. Like you're thinking tech forward and not that you can't manage a company and you're basically stopping hiring to stop the company going bankrupt. That said, I mean, I think this is actually a um, higher freezes or whatever when with AI assisted efficiency. It's going to be something that happens. In fact, it might be happening throughout the industry that I'm in. A lot of coding or whatever is being simplified and so on at the moment, and there is less hiring going on. But the hiring is frankly, it's to do with all sorts of economic shocks. I mean, I tell you what, with what's happening in America right now, a lot of companies are going to stop hiring and they're going to say, "Oh, it's just because we're so tech forward that we're going to ask AI. We're taking advantage of AI. So shareholders, we're doing a great job." When actually it's because people literally don't know if they can afford to buy the screws that they need to put their phones together for their products in America because they don't know what anything's going to cost tomorrow. So I don't know. My view on this is that I think he's trying to spin basically a hiring freeze due to business performance issues as being like we're so AI, we're so tech savvy that we're just not going to hire anyone anymore. And I think that that's wrong. But yeah, AI tutoring is brutal, says Crow. Seen a video content about 50 cents. One USD employees and third world companies being exploited, being exposed to dark stuff. You mean AI training? Certainly, human tagging is something that's well, yeah. Again, this is getting a little bit close to. Well, I haven't done anything specifically involving third world tagging, but the idea, for example, that Google, I believe it is, uses hires people in Kenya to be able to who are native English speakers to be able to tag content for machine learning training, and people saying, "Oh, look, they're outsourcing jobs to the third world." On the other hand, I mean, Kenya's a country is a developing country that speaks English with and with a developing both tech sector and startup sector, and with lower wages. Where if they can do a job and it gives them a good job, I mean, sure, there's things like the Meta. You hear about the Facebook outsourced of like content moderation. That those jobs genuinely sound horrific wherever they are. People getting traumatized and so on by that. But machine learning tagging, I've always thought actually for elderly people, for example, that want to supplement their pensions or whatever, to have them be able to assist with the tagging and correcting training data for AI. I've always thought that would be something that we could actually do for, domestically. But of course, it makes sense when you've got young people who are, who for whom they can do the work meaningfully. It's exactly like having people in China assembling this, for cheaper than they would do in America. AI training as well. It's kind of monotonous work, but if you can pay what is a wage that in the location that you pay it is meaningful, and they're willingly doing it, and you're helping everybody, I think that's a good thing. And the fact is that AI is not magical. It does need people to help with it. Well, we are kind of now moving beyond the period where all training data needs to be human verified. We were definitely at that stage before, but now we've got enough good quality data, of course, that now we do have AI literally training AI, and it's getting better like that. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think that there are worthwhile jobs in this. But yeah, that's it. I mean, this is where I do actually think shows like Black Mirror are very good at, I think, predicting in a pretty informed way what I think a lot of things are going to look like. Um, in an extreme. If you want to have a dark view of the future, go. I'm not getting paid. I wish I was. Go watch Netflix. Apparently, China called on Australia to support it against American tariff bullying, which is hilarious because if you're in Australia or I was following the news myself about how the moment that Australia, just sort of in rhetorical support for, I believe the original Trump saying, yeah, China, investigate how COVID started. Was it a lab leak, or was it someone fucked a bat or something? How did it happen? You're going to tell us, China, because it's definitely your fault. And China basically like banned everything from Australia. They did this, and it was over a political thing. Exactly what America is now doing to China. China did to Australia, and now China is calling on Australia and Europe to take its side against American bullying. China does this stuff all the time. I mean, what's happening? Does that make it okay? No. This is now America's acting like China is the problem. I mean, the fact that China is saying, hey, now you're all on my side, right? No, you're still an asshole. The government, not the people. Beautiful. Thank you, China. I appreciate you. And so long as I'm still in Japan, this is still going to be cheap. This is going to cost like 2 or 3 times as much to buy in America. But here in Japan, and this is another reason I guess you'll all want to be coming to Japan, because this stuff is going to be like half price in Japan now, and on top of the currency being cheaper. But yeah, Chinese people, great. But the Chinese government's always been a bully, just like the American government. The American government's just taking the playbook of the countries it's criticizing and being much worse with it right now. So, that's insanity. Apparently President Yoon, after being found guilty of rightfully impeached as president, basically, and not winning his appeal to overturn his impeachment, apologized, saying, sorry, I didn't meet your expectations. To which there was only one expectation that he failed to live up to, which was not militarily overthrowing the country and declaring martial law and ending democracy. I mean, it's a small one. Well, it's not a small one, it's a pretty big one, but it was only just one thing. It was just one expectation. He uses a plural there. Sorry for not meeting expectations. But it was really only one, just one, that you wouldn't just militarily take over the country. It's like you had one job, dude. So yeah, that's the thing. If you ever become president of a country, a bunch of examples here of things not to do. We are up on time. It is coming up onto an hour. I'm going to switch over and do the after party this week because I am not getting up early like I was a couple of weeks ago. And you guys get to pick the tracks. So the after party, there is a link available. If Aaron can pull that up, or someone can pull that up and put that in the comments. There we go. Boom. Join me for the after party where you pick the tracks and I mix them, and I choose tracks to mix them with. Yeah. Cell phones and laptops are not going to, as of yesterday, that's right. The US government changed its mind. So that is good. But this is not a cell phone, by the way, or a laptop. This is an action camera. And I think this is still going to be tariffed. So come to Japan and buy this cool stuff. Anyway, yes, come and join me for the after party. I'm going to be playing music. Thank you for keeping me company. As always, I do appreciate it. It's always great to have you in here. I really appreciate everybody who also takes the time to comment and participate in the show. That's what it's about. Japan's still relatively, I mean, not like super genius stable, but doing better than most, I think we could say comparatively. So yeah, Japan is still normal and boring, and that's a good thing to be, I think, in the way the world is right now. I'm going to, as usual, take a couple of minutes to set up the DJ stuff, but join me for that. Otherwise, remember, you can follow me on Blue Sky. during the week. And I will see you this time, same bat time, same back channel, 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time next Sunday. So thank you for keeping me company. Peace, boom, and join me for the after party. I'll be right back. And remember to like the video, because as you see, no ads, no ads. I am not going to. If you've seen the first episode of Netflix, you know what I mean. I'm not doing that to you. No, no, no subscriptions, no ads. This is yes, just the news. So remember to leave a like if you don't want this to become like the first episode of Black Mirror. See you later, Eric Bailey. Good to see you, and boom, see you next week. Otherwise, see you in the after party right now. Any stream.